Good morning and welcome to the Brave Zone webinar. Today, we're going to talk about goal setting and planning for the self-employed professionals. And I'm glad you're joining me today in this fabulous new year of 2020. You're going to get bombarded, obviously, with a lot of marketing messages saying 2020, new year, new you. And they're all going to say 2020 vision on goals, 2020 visions on plan. You're going to get sick of it by February. But for the purpose of today, I was inspired to share about goal setting because I think there's a lot of people who've tried to do goal setting and planning. And if you're like me, many of the structured ways of goal, it's not that we don't have a way of goal setting, but sometimes the goal setting and planning system that we use or that's in Google somehow doesn't get executed. And for this webinar, I'd like to guide you to understand maybe the finer distinctions about goals that work and goals that don't, planning systems that work and don't. And I think since we are talking about self-employed businesses here, I'm really passionate about helping you understand your style. I remember when I was being coached by one of my leadership coaches, um, he was a bit of a hippie, and he said that some people are very good with all the structured stuff, but you also have to understand yourself. And I have my own artistic side, and he, instead of saying to-do lists and to different types of structures, he actually said think of your tasks as bubbles. And he was right. I'm not the type of person that needs step by step how to do a certain goal. I just need the goal. And I see that as a bit of a bubble. And he phrased it in a way that what he does is he goes out and throughout the week he pops different bubbles, and that's just an example of how by understanding yourself and how you work, you don't have to always stick with the traditional methods. And it's good of you to want to learn the traditional methods, but it doesn't erase the fact that every one of you are different and this is your business and you have to find a system that works for you. So let's get started. And if we do have some time at the end, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions, and I'll tell you when to do that. All right, so as Benjamin Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Now, many of us exit the corporate world years ago, or maybe just recently, thinking that, well, now that my boss isn't watching my plan or asking me to submit a plan, I don't need to have a plan. And I'm just going to roll along my life and my business. I'm just going to do it naturally or something like that. But what happens usually is that when I coach self-employed professionals and coaches and consultants in different types of industries, what I do find is that because they don't have a clarity about what they're trying to build and the types of goals that they need to achieve in order to meet their vision, they start focusing on busyness, lots of busyness. And if you can imagine being self-employed, you do have to be doing a lot of things. You're doing the sales, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the delivery, some of you don't have a PA, so you're doing the admin, the accounting and everything like that. And before you know it, everything is important, it seems, but actually many of them are not. And some of you are very creative in coming up with new ideas. And let's say you've just started and you're creative in finding new ideas of marketing. You read some kind of blog, marketing book or something, and you want to do 20 different things. But actually, what are the key things that actually make a big impact for your business using your style? And that's why as we go forth with February, March, and you'll see that my webinars will start talking more about understanding your style, your own voice, and not having a huge strategy list that you learn from the latest trend or somebody else, and that's the thing about that we need to understand when we sit down and plan for our business, is taking all that into consideration, focusing on the things that matter to you. It will impact you. That is very important, not taking too much ideas and putting it in a big plan. And a lot of people that come from corporate, I'm just going to say it because I experienced this. It feels like in corporate, a plan is not really a plan until it's 20 pages long. And that's fine if you're 20 pages. And if you do the same in your business and you feel that you need 20 pages to to cover everything, that's fine. But some people, in order to fill a business plan or a quarterly plan in their corporate world, sometimes they put in a lot of fluff just to make the boss happy. Now, when you have that habit and you go into your own business and you just fill your stuff with fluff, like I said, different strategies that's not really relevant or just fluff in general, um, and or ideas that's not really relevant, what you'll have is a very thick plan, but then you'll confuse yourself. So I'm trying to also get your plans to be a little bit more um, streamlined, yeah, so that you can focus. Because I understand in self-employment you do have to focus on many things. So that's why. That's also why I would suggest that your plans are always quarterly, or if some of you work on a 2-month basis, when you start having plans that's 1 year long, or it's nice to have a goal that's long term and short term, but plans, execution plans, typically quarterly, and to be reviewed every month is good, because when you're trying to plan too far out, especially when you're owning a small business or self-employment, things change. You get new ideas and you want the flexibility, and you don't want to spend too much time making your initial plan, um, because you have to cover 6, 9, 12 months. Just make it for the first 3 months and make it, like bite size, so it's easier for you and it takes less time to plan. Okay, so that's where we're going. So thank you for your commitment to growth. And just in case some of you are new to this webinar or to the Brave Zone, let me introduce myself very quickly. I did graduate from corporate. I spent 11 years in corporations, where I learned a lot of business lessons by achieving different kinds of targets, exceeding targets, winning certain awards. Then I went to business coaching because I love the game of business and I love solving business issues. I love improving business systems and problems. And mostly I was given businesses who had profit problems, marketing, sales problems. And I loved that area as well. That was something I was very strong at. But interestingly, 12 years ago, when I built my business coaching business, I thought I was going to be this great coach and everything, but I found more fulfillment and passion helping other coaches succeed, because a lot of my colleagues are actually very talented. They can do coaching so much better than I can. They come with better degrees, better this and better that. However, many of them didn't know how to position themselves. And maybe because I was also quite experienced in turning around businesses, I saw them as a product, and I helped them because I was external of them. I wasn't, I wasn't them, so I can see them from the outside and I can help point them out to the direction where they can find their niche. I helped improve their bios. I helped improve how they spoke in networking events or on stages. I helped people get clarity about what they're good at and what they love, and break through limiting beliefs. So I've got a combination of business and psychology background, thanks to some of the workshops and NLP certifications that I've done. And that's how we built my firm in Indonesia called Action Coach Jakarta. We were very much helped by Action Coach, who came in with the franchise and with the structure of how to do business coaching. But we decided, instead of being just one coach practice, a single coach practice, we wanted to become a firm. A few years later, we went into a business of master licensing coach certifications, and we focus on team engagement because that's a very big issue at this moment. And we are now the master licensee of Engage and Grow Indonesia. The business is now being run by my team of coaches and team members, and that's given me the flexibility to move to the UK and do what I love in the UK, which is helping self-employed professionals succeed. It's a booming business, so if you're a self-employed coach, consultant, any type of professional, it's booming business for two reasons. Number one, because there's a lot of people coming out of corporate at this point. They do want to use their special skills to start their own business. For the second reason is also there's a lot of new businesses starting out. There's also a lot of need in corporations to groom leadership, mental health, stress-related issues, or just to groom future potentials, and to prepare pensioners to have their own business later. So if you have that special skill, it's really good. And it doesn't matter if you're a business coach, a yoga coach, or whatever coach, you're on the right track. Unfortunately, many people are good at what they do, but they don't know how to build a business. And this is where, because we're such a fast-growing industry, we fall victim to many other vendors that's trying to sell us, promises that they're going to get us clients, like through. And I don't want to criticize a particular industry, but a lot of people that I've met also bank on the hope of social media and digital marketing as their only marketing plan, because that's the way to do it. And we're bombarded with all these kinds of opportunities. And to be fair, because it's not the vendor's fault, it's our fault for not understanding ourselves and not understanding business and how to grow our own business, and we fall into getting these kinds of buying into these kinds of promises. Ultimately, when you're self-employed, you know that your results is your fault. So if it's successful, great, that's a good fault. it's due to your win. If it's unsuccessful, there's no one else to blame, it's you as well. So that's why today I want to focus on equipping you better. So this is my team, my partners in Action Coach Jakarta. We do run quarterly events. My business partners on the bottom left, Marvin Chahyadi and Priyono. And to be fair, one of the inspirers of this presentation is actually Marvin. He presented a lot of planning and goal setting workshops when we were there, and he inspired this particular webinar because, and I will point out that I have used some of his methods here, so I want to give him proper credit. And and many of the other things that we do together, we also learn together from the same books and the same mentors, and we also implement it in our firm. So I want to give my partners credit for his work as well. What lights me up is also spending time with the man I love here in Bath and his family, and also facilitating workshops and learning events for entrepreneurs like I did many times in the past in different countries around the world. And what lights me up is also making an impact in society. One of the fruits of my coaching career has been to coach an entrepreneurship school for underprivileged children and teaching them how to grow businesses and be financially independent. So my objective to you is to help create a set of goals and plans that you will use to help advance your business. I think it's very important at the start of the year you do this right. So my promise to you is I will be an educator, not a motivator. We're not here just for a rah-rah moment. I'll get into my own experience as well as what I've learned about making plans and goals. I'll be your coach and help you reflect on some tough questions perhaps, yeah? And I will get you strategies and methods that you can use immediately, and also that will help you reflect all the stuff that you've been doing in the past. Has that been effective? And if not, maybe from this webinar you'll know why. And there's also a next step that you can take to implement the learnings in your own business, and we'll talk about that at the end of the conversation. What we will cover in this webinar is that we need to understand first why plans are not executed. There's 5 reasons, and we'll get back to that. And how do you do goal setting in your own business? I want to go a little bit, because this is a self-employed business. Again, understanding what you're trying to build, understanding your personal mission, creating an effective and actionable plan. It's not some fancy document. It's got to be something that you can execute. And this is what I will be talking to you about as well. So this is the 10th of January. And people say that a lot of New Year's resolutions fail, and you've heard this before, but it's been interesting Googling this. It says 2007 study from the University of Bristol, 88% of people who make New Year's resolutions fail. And they say only one of us will be successful out of 10. So why is this? Why do people go back to their old ways? And I use New Year's resolutions because this is January, but at the same time, this happens to goals in general as well, right? You set this goal, yeah, we're going to do this, and then at the end of the day, you go back to your old habits. This is January 10th. Research conducted by Strava says January 12th, 2 days from now, will be the fateful day called the Quitter's Day. This is when everybody goes back and stops going to the gym, or stops running every day, or start eating chocolates again, and start smoking again. I mean, it's sad, but this again was an article I found in Google, and I thought I'd share it with you. You got 2 more days, guys, to live up to your New Year's resolutions. But you know, of course, this is not what we want to happen. So that's why today is very important. Let's start with the meat of this webinar. Um, Planning is important. Focusing your activities every day on the key things is important. Why? Because your competitor is time. Guys, we are in the service industry. In service industry, I liken it to a hotel. You can't sell rooms that you didn't sell yesterday. You can't sell them today. It's gone. The time is gone. The 24-hour period is gone. You can't say, oh, can I have January 9th again? And I'll sell an extra room from somewhere, an extra time in January 10th. You can't. It's past. And it's the same thing with our time, because that's what we're selling. So whereas, let's say, if you're selling hand phones or mobile phones, right? Your inventory is the stock of mobile phones you have in your warehouse. Imagine that as a self-employed service provider, our warehouse is full of hours and minutes. That's it. The minutes come in little boxes, the hours come in bigger boxes, okay? So, and when you don't sell your time, imagine a big forklift going into your warehouse and throwing all the boxes away. And tomorrow you have to sell again a fresh set of boxes of time from your warehouse. So your competitor is time. It's not the coach next door. It's not the coach down the street. That's not who your competitor is. Okay. So my question is, are you filled with the busyness of your day? Are you filled with lots of ideas? That's great. Or are you actually building a business with the right strategies and the real clarity about who you are? Here's 5 reasons why goals and plans don't work. We'll go through them one by one. Number 1, you have no emotional attachment. So I'm not going to get tied up with what you call these things. You know, the terminology. Oh, is it a goal? Is it a vision? Is it a mission? Is it a purpose? I don't care about the words. I want you to understand about the concept, right? Goals don't work because usually it's some kind of a business goal or a company goal, but there's no emotional attachment to your goal, and we'll talk about how to create that. Number 2, you have a goal, you have a bunch of strategies, you have a plan, but you don't calendarize it, you don't make time for it, so it becomes a to-do list. There's a disconnect between your to-do list, you know, on your mobile phone you've got your to-do list, or on your, maybe you've got a sheet of paper, and then there's your calendar. You know, have you ever had that time where it's 8 o'clock in the morning, you go to work, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, you start work, you have all this to-do list, and then it's busy, 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 busy. And then by 4:30 p.m., your to-do list, you've only ticked one of them. So to-do lists and calendars need to be integrated. They can't be separate, or else you don't make time for it. Number 3, you don't feel the progress. And for some of you, it's true, because you're not making progress because you're so filled with busyness. For some of you, you are perfectionist like heck, and you don't give yourself enough credit. And even though you are making leaps and bounds of progress, you still think you haven't achieved anything. So there's going to be a psychological game here, and then there's also the reality of really making progress. And we've got to make sure that we have a sense of progress so that we don't abandon our goals. You are focusing on a goal, number 4, you are focusing on a goal for which you have no authority or control. It's kind of like, you know, some of you are parents, you know, you can't even control your own children, right? I mean, as much as how wonderful you are, you can't really 100% control other people. And let's say, for instance, you are trying to market your product and you're working on a strategic alliance, and for some reason that strategic alliance partner fails you. And that's the only goal you have about, you know, the only plan you have about marketing your services. The problem with that plan or goal is that you are not in control fully of that. So when I work with self-employed professionals, I always look at their marketing plan and make sure there's a balance of stuff that you partner with other people with, and then there's stuff that you have to be able to be fully in control of, or else the coaches and consultants that I've worked with in the past have been very disappointed in their own business, because they can't do the marketing strategies because they're dependent on other people. So we don't want that. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 5, you're in an unsupportive environment. For some of you, it's very difficult to work from home. For some of you, you need to get new friends that don't always criticize you for being on your own and starting your own business, or think that your business is stupid and you should have stayed in corporate. You know, it's you know, when you're by yourself, you start thinking a little bit too much, you know, and it's very important for you to be around a supportive environment of positive people, supportive people. And so I'm very happy to see all these Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups of people, and they always share nice things to you and supportive things. And sometimes the reason why your goals and plans don't work is because people are trying to pull you away from them. Okay, so that's one of the things we need to talk about as well. Simon Cowell says, you don't go into anything contemplating failure, because if you did, you wouldn't make it. So having all these 5 reasons, it's nice that we know about it, but it doesn't mean that you know, the reason I want you to know about it, because I want you to be aware of these 5 reasons. But let's start with a positive and optimistic view that starting from now, starting from this webinar, we will be able to create better goals and plans. So, and we will succeed, because if not, then you'll fail. There's 3 items that we want to talk about today. Number 1 is how to set goals. And then following that, how do you select strategies to meet those goals? And how do you make sure it's impactful strategies? And number 3 is monitoring execution. How do you do that for yourself? So number 1, setting goals. Here's a question for you. Are your goals engaging the heart or just the mind? We talked a little bit about emotional engagement at the beginning as one of the key reasons why goals and plans don't get executed. So we all know, perhaps some of us know this golden circle from Simon Sinek. And he talks about that many organizations focus too much on what they want to achieve. X number of pounds target, you know, a certain number of clients, et cetera, you know, or I want to sell this product. And then they go on and say how they're going to achieve it. But they don't spend enough time clarifying the why. And if you look at a self-employed business, right? Some of you go out from corporate, you're trying to set your own business, or you're maybe a house spouse and now you're trying to set your own business. Maybe some of you are under financial pressure, and that's your what? You know, I've got to earn X amount every month to cover my bills and pay for my children's education, pay for my pension, etc. Maybe that's your what. Some of you, maybe you want to make, you know, some kind of presence for yourself in your community. You want the reputation. You want to be known for something. You want to publish a book or something like that. That's your what. You go off talking about the how. Now, we all know that meeting the goal is an up and down process. Sometimes we have wins, and in the beginning, most often, we have losses and failures. But without a strong why, we will not be able to sometimes be resilient to go through what we have to go through. And many of us, maybe we've been to a motivational workshop or something, and we say, oh yeah, my personal why is to make a difference. And my personal why is to make an impact in the community, to leave a legacy, which is great, okay? And I know I'm saying it very sarcastically because I've been through that. As a coach, I would like for you to dig a little deeper, because in as much as you say leave a legacy, be an impact, yeah, with all those whys that you say you have, many of you still quit. So I'm questioning the sincerity of your why. And maybe for some of you, this is all new. Oh, I'm going to work on my why. Great. But I'm talking to the people who have had a why, but that why is not working. So why is your why not working for you? That's the hard question. If you are one of those people who have had a why before, you've heard all this before, but you're still struggling being consistent, why is that why not working for you? Can you dig deeper inside yourself, or get somebody to dig deeper inside yourself to give you clarity about your real authentic why. Because sometimes those whys that's not working is not your why. It could be your parents' why. It could be your teacher's why. It could be your group of friends' why. It could be what you read in the news and people think is cool. It's a trendy why, but it's not your why. Okay. And this is a difficult process. It's not for me, for instance, my first why was, yeah, to make a difference, to help people and everything. And yes, that's true. But at the end of it, I allowed myself to be selfish, to be self-centered. And I mean that in a more in a positive way. And was it money? Yes. A certain point, it was money. When I was, especially when I was building a firm, the bills were huge, right? The overheads were huge. So yes, building a business that makes profits and money was important and was my why. But what I also found was that building a business to meet overheads was very tiring. So I started rethinking that why, and I didn't like how it shaped me. I didn't like being a person who built a business for money. So I had that awareness and I said, stop. What are you doing? Do I really need all this? Okay, and it's that whole mindset of enough and everything like that. So we started getting smart in how we managed our business. And we realized we were able to save certain things we didn't need and everything. And it puts a lot of pressure on, took out a lot of pressure from our why. And then I said, well, what's my real why? And I realized I love building businesses and coaching people, grooming my leaders, is because I like developing people. So my why was, I want to do this because I like seeing people grow. And I get a kick out of seeing someone who said they couldn't do it, and then tomorrow they said they can. Or after 9 months, they feel that they can. Or I get a kick out of a coach who was very, very, very lost in how to build her business. And now she's fine. And she's in demand and all that kind of stuff. I like that. I like seeing people who were a bit confused and now they're very clear. I like giving clarity. So that was my latest why. Then I thought, yeah, okay, that's still for others, you know. Will that be sincerely enough for me, you know? And then with all that, I found myself burning out as well because I was giving and giving and giving. And then I realized at that point in time that I needed to rediscover another why. So this is like multiple layers here. I went from money to impacting others, and now I'm thinking, is that really enough? Another layer. Then I said, what about me? I've been giving all this time. What about me? What is it for me? And I thought, well, is it money again? Then maybe we're going back in this big circle. No, it wasn't that. Because at that time, I mean, you need more money if you've got a whatever lifestyle. You can always adjust, right? But it's not about that. And I didn't want to go back to that circle again. I realized one of the things that I've always had in my head, at the back of my head, was that self-actualization. What's the biggest fear that I have in my life? To die with regret. Not to die poor, but to die with regret. To know that I could do something, but never express it. So maybe all these things, all these whys that I've had in the past, you know, helping people, making a difference in the community, building a business, and all that kind of stuff, was in fact, for me, it was the core of it was self-actualization. And who is it for? It's for me. It's not for other people. I know it's going to sound selfish to you. I don't care, because I'm being authentic. I'm just sharing, right? It doesn't have to be you. I'm just saying that for me, my why is now revolving around my self-actualization and what lights me up. And I trust myself that even if I'm going into self mode, that my heart is all about giving. I've been taught that from my parents anyway, right? So my type of self-actualization is really giving to others anyway. So I allowed my why to be about me. And then I said, well, my source of my way of expressing myself, my self-actualization, is to be of use to others. So for me right now, and I'm not saying there won't be another layer in the future, in a couple of years, I'm just saying for me right now, I've rediscovered that why, that it wasn't to give to others, but it was to self-actualize myself. Number one, to be the best I can be. I want to know what that is. You know, I've got a lot of achievements and everything like that. I'm very grateful for that. But what's next? That's exciting. And not just in business, but I'm also learning how to ski. I'm wanting to learn other skills, learning gardening, cooking, and everything like that. What's next? What can I do? That lights me up. And secondly, in business, how do I build a business that matters to other people and expresses me? You know, if I like teaching, I'll teach. You know, if I'm good at something, I'll do that. You know, because that's my why, self-actualization. And behind that why, I always ask for whom. In the past, it was for other people, for this, for that. And I think I was very influenced from the purpose movement. You know, I want to be of help to other people. But then now it's for whom? For me. For me, so that I don't live with regrets. I don't die with regrets. And for me to actualize myself. So behind the why, we'll be also asking for whom. Okay. So that's my story. It doesn't have to be your story. And I know everybody's got different stories. But that's the journey of finding your why. And it's okay to have different layers of realization as you go through it. And it's okay to think about yourself, because some of you have been influenced to go into this industry to help others. But for some reason, that doesn't light you up anymore, and it's time to be honest. And for some of you, it is money. I mean, I don't have kids. I don't have dependents that I need to think about. My life is very different from many of you. And for some of you, for whom could be the names of your children. And that's okay. I just need to have you clear on the why and the who behind your what. Okay, so when you set goals, the first thing I think you need to understand is it's not just here, it's got to be in your heart. And sometimes the longest journey is from your head to your heart. That's like the longest mile. So let's move on. Marvin, one of our coaches, one of my business partners in Jakarta, created a redefinition of SMART goals. And I like it, so I want to share it with you. And for him, it's specific and measurable is one, okay? Of course, we all know what SMART goals are, specific. But the M is not just measurable, it's also motivating. Again, we go back to the previous slide. Is it motivating to your heart, not just your mind? The A is attainable. It's realistic. Okay, some of our whys, for instance, if you don't have the knowledge to do something, you know, maybe your first goal is to attain that knowledge, not to get the result of that knowledge. You know, some of you are setting goals that's beyond your capabilities and beyond your resources. Maybe so your goal should be get the resources and then get the goal next year. You know, relevant. Your goals must be relevant to the business, must be relevant to what you're building. Again, if you don't know what you're building, if you don't know what you're after in life, what you don't know your why, it's very difficult to find any relevancy. You're just going with the flow. And trackable, we'll talk a little bit more about that trackability when we talk about execution. So SMART goals. We talked about goal setting. Now let's talk about selecting strategies. The question is, you have lots of strategies. In a self-employed industry, you can, there is so many marketing strategies, it's unbelievable. And it's tempting to say, we need many marketing strategies. But it's like casting a net, you know, if you're gonna catch fish, you can't just, you know, I used to go fishing every Sunday with my family. You gotta wait and you gotta go deep sometimes. You can't just cast a net, pull it up. Cast a net, pull it up. I went to one networking event, it didn't work, pull it up. You know, don't go again. I did one seminar, it didn't work, let's not do that again. I speak in this society, it didn't amount to anything, I'm never gonna do it again. And sometimes, because we have such limited time, all of us have the same amount of time, we only have a limited time to get serious on some marketing strategies. And if you're working on too many without clarity of what's really the strategy that matters, this is what I classify as busyness. And I've spoken to some of the coaches around here as well. They are what I call, you dabble on the strategies, but you don't go deep. I remember in 2008, when I first started the business, networking was definitely a strength point. I recognize that I'm a people person. I'm very good with people. So networking was top priority for me in building my business. No matter what people say, oh, networking doesn't work anymore. Really? It works for me. I don't know why it doesn't work for you, right? It could be because it's not their natural strength. I don't believe a marketing strategy doesn't work anymore. It's just that the executor behind it don't know how to do it, or it's not their strengths. So maybe it doesn't work for them, right? But networking works for me. So networking, first I cast my net, right? I get, a lot of different networking groups. I attend many events. I'm almost out every night. But then I narrowed it down. I went deep. I found the ones I liked, and then I went deep and I contributed. I became an officer, or I contributed in some way, shape, or form. I got to know everybody's names, and I became, people, I walk in the door, everybody knows my name. That's the kind of deep strategies. And because of that, over time, the investment, I remember I invested about $27,000, and I'll say dollars at this point because that was how I measured things. I spent about $27,000 on memberships, tickets going in, anything, events, that I attended. And this was across many, many groups. And in about 1.5 years, the business I got out of that was about $128,000. And at the time when I stopped counting, some of our clients were still in our firm. So they were being coached by other coaches or by me. And many of them have still given us referral business or continued using our services on an ad hoc basis. So that's not the end of it. But even at that time, at 18 months, I stopped counting, and that was the result. But that's only because I went deep. I didn't go wide, and this is the other thing that I want you to get clear on. For you, your strengths, your style, what's the strategy that matters? And that's why in February, I'm having a business course about selecting the strategies that matters for you, that fits your style, right? Don't worry about what works for other people. They're not you. Okay. Sometimes even twins have different styles. Okay. So, you need to get clarity on you. And for some of you, you don't even have the niche target market yet. Some of you, for instance, were ex-Army veterans, and maybe instead of saying that you're a business coach for every business owner, you're just going to say, I'm a business coach that's great for Army veterans who have started businesses. I've got a friend in South Africa. I'm not sure if he's on this call actually, but he had an optometrist. He's an optometrist, he's an optician. He's got an optician business. His business has been coached to run without him, and now he's focusing just on opticians and helping their business grow without them. So it's one of those things, and we see it all over LinkedIn. I just helped last night. I was chatting with a business coach only for accountants, an accountant business coach, and I think that's nice. And that's why I also niche myself. I only want to work with self-employed professionals. In this quarter, I'm very interested to work with self-employed coaches and consultants. And sometimes, we have all these load of target markets we want to go into, loads of strategies that we want to implement. But the question is not which one, it's which one first. And that's why I think your plans have to be on a quarterly basis, because if it's too long, that you're tempted to go too wide. Let's just say, look, you only have 3 months. Which one first? Which target market first? Which marketing strategy first? And if you need more clarity about yourself, your style, I'm going to give you a chance to book an appointment with me, and we'll have a chat. You could be anywhere in the world. We'll open a Zoom link and we'll have a chat, and we'll help you uncover yourself and get you a clear understanding. And once you're very clear on that, your bio needs to be reshaped. Your approach, maybe your brochure needs to be reshaped. Your website needs to be reshaped to really target in on that target market. And your activities on a weekly basis, what you do for marketing will need to change sometimes because you are more focused on the strategies that matter. When we look at the third thing, which is monitoring execution, yeah, we want to understand that when we want to perform better in business, we want to improve business, there's a lot of things that we are already handling. Stephen Covey, in his book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, called this the whirlwind. Yeah, you want to improve something about your business, but you have daily work that you still have to handle. I mean, the world just doesn't stop and allow you to improve things. So on top of that daily work, we have actions. We have actions that we want to start. We want to implement new actions. So business performance is all about managing the implementation of new actions amidst all your daily work, amidst all your whirlwind. Okay, so it does take more work. You just have to understand that when you're improving your business, you expect to do more work than usual. It's not just daily work. Okay, so when you talk about new actions, there's 2 types of new actions. Sometimes you want to improve a business or improve your business and reach a certain goal, and you need a new routine. You need a behavior change. And sometimes you just have to improve a system. You have to improve something. So types of action could be routine or one time. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say one of your goals is to lose weight. Common goal, isn't it? You have to understand that when you're setting a goal of, I want to lose 5 kilos, on top of that, you're still having your daily work. You still have to go to work, take care of your kids, take care of the house, you do all these things. So this new thing you're going to do to lose weight is on top of what all the other things you're already doing. And when you look at the new action you have to do to lose weight, there's 2 types of new action. And this is where it gets challenging. Now, some actions is one time, like signing up for a gym. You don't have to do this every day. You don't have to sign up every day. You just have to sign up once. Or researching which classes that you like, or researching which fitness trainer that you're going to work with. That's a one-time activity. You don't have to keep doing it. Or reading a book about nutrition or something like that, right? But there's also routine activities that you need to start slotting into your calendar, which is, for instance, the key impactful activities for losing weight is basically reducing your calorie intake and increasing your calorie burn, right? So reducing calorie intake could be a new routine of cooking different types of food every day and eating different styles of eating habits. And the other new routine that you might have to do is going to exercise more often than you used to. So that's a routine thing. Okay, so that's exercise, that's health. We all get it, that example. Now, when we look at a business, the challenge in improving your business and selecting the right strategies is selecting these new actions. For different people, it's different things. For some of you, social media works very well. And maybe your new routine is making time to be more active in social media. For some of you, social media doesn't work very well. So the new routine needs to be something else. Maybe spending more time face-to-face in the networking events, or meeting 3 strategic alliances every week. Okay? That's the behavior change. That's the new routines. And all that needs time. So if it's not calendarized, it's not going to happen. Stroke of pen, or the one-time activities, could be getting clarity about your strengths, could be getting a coach to help you get clarity about your business, right? That's a one-time activity. And I know coaching can go on, but it can also be a project, right? A one-time thing. It could be a one-time thing of improving your bio after you've realized that you've got a certain uniqueness you haven't put in yet. You know, it could be improving your website. It could be selecting certain groups that you want to be more involved with. It could be creating a marketing plan. That's a one-time activity, okay? So this is how you perform business. Now, the challenge, and the book also takes an example of a hotel and describes the challenge. The challenge for businesses is to really establish which are these one-time and routine new actions that they have to do. And sometimes it takes months to figure it out. You know, for instance, you've been doing social media and it's not working. It's fine. You've got the lesson, right? But you have to stop something that's not working or reduce what's not working and create a new routine. If you keep going just because you paid for the supplier or you don't want to waste the money you've spent in the past, you might be losing opportunities in the future because you don't want to waste the past. I would just say take the lesson and move on, right? You have to create a new routine. So the challenge is sometimes picking these strategies. And that's why I believe in sitting down with someone and just getting clarity from a third person's perspective. And just expect that over time, you will need to adjust these new actions until you get the right one for you. So a bit of patience is required when you're building a business, and you don't come up with this great strategy on the first time you come around. An example in the book, I think they took about 3 to 6 months to really finally, after measuring and everything, finally realize that these are the key routines that really make the difference. You know, it's not just everything. I remember when we were building our firm, when I managed the firm, I set KPIs. I set results. You know, you have to meet a certain revenue target. But yeah, that was reviewed. But what I really reviewed was the amount of the number of appointments that they made every single week. And they have to go out 8 times a week in order to meet that target. They have to have 8 sales calls every week. Okay, and that's not easy. But if you want to meet that target, forget about the target. If you do 8 sales calls every week with an average sale that's XYZ, you will meet that target or get close to it because of the new routine that you've put in place. Okay, so it's a lot of thinking that goes through the process. We had things like, well, is it the networking events that they have to attend? Is it the number of networking events? No. I don't care if you attend 10 networking events every week, but if you don't have a sales appointment after that, that doesn't work, doesn't make a difference. You know, is it the number of social media posts I post every week? Is that going to make a difference in my business? Nope. At the end of it, the real thing is, are you sitting down with a prospect? And how many prospects do you need to sit down with every single week in order for you to achieve whatever revenue target that you've set for yourself? And that's a clarity that you need to have. Okay, so that's a little bit of that. Monitoring execution and celebrating wins. The final part of this, how do you get things done? There's 6 points that I want to review with you. Number 1 is be kind to yourself. Again, it's a psychological game. Some of you are just too hard on yourself. And I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I do the same thing. Yeah, sometimes we are getting things done, but because we are too focused on the future, not living in the now, and not taking things one day at a time, we feel like we haven't done anything, and because you're not, if you're very negative to yourself, sure, you can try to be productive, but mentally you're drained. When you don't have a good positive self-talk, you're draining yourself even before you get out of bed. Okay, so being kind to yourself, I would say the most important number in business is 1, or in life probably is 1. You implement marketing strategies 1 strategy at a time. You fix yourself or improve yourself 1 day at a time. You connect with people 1 person at a time. In as much as technology has allowed us to blast and all these kinds of things, in reality, we know that when we really want to build trust, and this business that we're in right now is all about trust, we need to take it 1 step at a time, 1 person at a time, 1 email at a time, 1 coffee at a time. And as long as you're doing that 1 at a time, be kind to yourself. You're making progress. Number 2, be flexible. In your diaries, there's no such thing as a perfect week. Things happen. I just realized I was booked to go to a rugby game tonight. Whoops, my evening plans are 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 changed, and that's fine. That's okay. I'll do what I wanted to do this evening tomorrow morning. Just be flexible. Once you're not flexible with, oh, I've had this calendar. The webinar says I should calendarize things. I put everything in the calendar, and now it's screwed up. Oh, the world's gonna fall. No, just be flexible, and that's why your calendar shouldn't be full when it's planned. You shouldn't plan for a full calendar with no spaces. There will be times when things get changed, and you need to have that flexibility. Calendarize your to-do list. Again, your to-do list should be integrated into your calendar. Like, let's say you're going to say, I'm going to review this document today. Well, what time are you going to do that? Is it from 9 to 10, or is it from 10 to 10:30, or what? That forces you to plan how long you're going to take to review, and it forces you to put that in your calendar. 4, make or get access to the tools you need. And if you don't have the resources to achieve your goal, maybe your first goal is to get the resources. Okay, so make sure that whatever you're planning to achieve is within your control. Celebrate wins. Have your little ritual. You could have a boogie dance if you want. You can grab yourself a nice drink if you want. Even small wins, or even just pat yourself and say, yay, and create a supportive environment. I'm blessed that one of the things that I recently joined was a group coaching called Quality Mind. And we still have our WhatsApp group, and that is a supportive environment that we lift each other up in that group. And we're in different continents, but we lift each other up, and that's wonderful. Okay, some of you don't have that right now, and that's very important. And I can understand why it's a burden for you, but there are many ways to get into that. So, our business is not perfect. We are not perfect. We are all on a journey. And what I like about what Theodore Roosevelt said was that the credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, man or woman, right? We can get criticism day in and day out. People can say, oh, your content is stupid. Oh, I can't believe you left corporate for that thing. And how much are you making now? And la, 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 la. You know what? I've had those criticisms. I've cried over those criticisms, but the credit belongs to me, who is actually making the effort. You can criticize me all you want, but it's my face that is marred with dust and sweat. I'm the one who strives valiantly. I'm the one that make errors, and I may make errors again and again and again. But there is no effort without error or shortcoming. There's no victory without effort. Okay, so it is you who need to give the credit to yourself, even when others don't, because it is you that's in the ring, fighting for your dreams and fighting for your why and fighting for your who, right? So I just want to encourage you to also give yourself a bit of credit for going this. And this is why I call my company the Brave Zone. You have ventured in your brave zone, and adventure awaits for you. I mean, there are opportunities that you may not see, and if you stop, you will never see them. So I want to encourage you to keep going and make this a great year for yourself. And if you want a fresh perspective, you can just book an initial discovery session with me, email me, and we can chat for about 20 to 30 minutes. If it's relevant, I do have a short questionnaire about your business that you can see what your score is. We can do all that kind of stuff, but just email me if that interests you, if you want a different perspective. It's completely free. I also believe in building trust. I am having a course on the 27th of February to delve a little bit deeper about marketing strategies. Because again, self-employed business, what works for other people may not work for you. You need to understand what is your uniqueness. And I want you to start picking marketing strategies that plays on your strengths. Because in that way, you will no longer be chasing after clients. You're no longer operating from a point of weakness. I want you to operate on a point of strengths, and start attracting people to you. If you are playing in your strength zone, you are going to be very attractive. You're going to be a success magnet. But many of you don't see that yet about yourself, or maybe need to refresh that as you shift and transform in your journey. Some of you already have a great business, loads of clients, and now you want more out of your business. You want to build a firm, you want to build a team of associates. Well, you need to, maybe it's not marketing strategies, but maybe it's you need to find your style as a leader. And how do you attract not clients, but employees? Okay, what kind of a firm will you be building? What's your niche target market for your firm? Because what I've discovered, people I like dealing with may not be a niche target market for my firm, because I have 6 coaches with different strengths, and I've got to think of my firm now, not me, right? I no longer, it's not relevant what I like, it's what they can survive, what they can service. Okay. For some of you, it's all, we're also going to talk about writing a tailored bio, and that becomes clear when you are clear on your style, and also when you're clear on your target market. So that's why we are going through style and niche target market first, and then we'll talk about, share some proven strategies for professionals going solo, and then we'll create an actionable marketing plan that gets results. I want you to create a marketing plan that works for you, not just a marketing plan that is like everybody else's. Okay, so it's in Bath, 27th of February, 9 to 5 p.m. There is an early bird investment that expires on Valentine's Day. That's my little Valentine's Day gift for you. But please make time for it, because after speaking to many people like you, I do find that you're starting off with questions like, how do I market my business? Instead of, who am I? What am I strong in? Who am I trying to serve? What am I trying to build? And then, how should I market myself? Okay? How should I get my message out? Basically, marketing is getting your message out. If you're not clear what your message is, marketing is the least of your problems. Okay? So that's what I want to encourage you to join. It's been a pleasure serving you, and I hope this webinar has been useful. Please feel free to also share this webinar along to other people. Next webinar, we're going to talk about sales processes and conversion rate, because I think that's an important target to address, because it's, some of you have lots of leads, have been trying to close them in your own way. And what I like to do when I work with self-employed professionals is I'll pretend to be a prospect, and I'll just listen, and you take me along your sales process. And after the conversation, I'll give you feedback. What's been great, and what's your strengths in that sales process, but what can you do better? And I think that's an important process, because some of you have paid a lot of money to get those leads. Some of you have paid a lot of, paid it either with money or with time. So why aren't you converting more of it? And that's something we need to discuss. So that's the next webinar. It's been a pleasure serving you, and I hope you share this with other people who will need it. So from the Brave Zone, signing out. I'll see you next month for the next webinar. Bye now.